For it. Hello and welcome to the Think Share. My name's Zach, here to bring to what I've been thinking about, sharing about, talking about, listening to, reading about that doesn't belong in math class to make you the goodest version of yourself. If you're new to the channel, I invite you to subscribe. Today I have with me Gemma Grace, and she is a YouTuber from the UK, and she talks a lot about autism. She talks a lot about bullying, some of her personal experiences with those things. And so I wanted to have her on today because, I've grown to sort of build a relationship with her. She said she was going to share also a poem that she created. I have been challenging her since I think it was a live stream I did maybe like a month or two ago, that she came on and was asking like, should I do poetry? And I said, absolutely. And at some point we had said like, you should come on and do it here as well. So Gemma, I wanted to start off. I hope that introduces you well. And what would you just tell us a little bit about yourself for those that don't know you?
Okay, I'm from the UK. I'm nearly 30 years old. I'm an autistic adult who got diagnosed late. I was diagnosed at 25 years old. So it's a kind of really sudden change in my life because I knew that there was always something quite not right with me, and I'd struggled to fit in with society. I had always struggled with maintaining friends, and that became a major issue just as I left high school, which was a long time ago. And then all of a sudden, I started having anxiety issues, which then led to me getting a mental health assessment because my parents couldn't cope with me anymore. And we went to the doctors, and it took me a year from start to finish to get a diagnosis, which was extremely upsetting, frustrating. I spent weeks crying because I didn't know what was happening to me.
Mm.
And now my life makes sense. It's kind of from diagnosis to then finally realizing that, oh, actually, I'm not a bad person. I'm not broken. It's just that I see the world a lot differently to you guys. And for me, it's kind of a gift. It makes me different, but slightly I guess I find things more difficult, but I'm learning to communicate, and being on YouTube, talking to you is extremely helpful, and learning to better communicate. So for me, this is a challenge, but a challenge I'm well accepting.
That's awesome. Um, and what inspired you originally to start like a YouTube channel?
For me, it's my social worker and my best friend. We got together one day for a meeting, and I said to him, "What can I do to talk about autism? How can I reach people to a way that's going to be sensible and good for myself to get the message out there about my story?" And my social worker said to me, "What about YouTube?" And at first I was like, "No way, YouTube's not going to work. It's people aren't going to want to listen to another autism story, and there's quite a lot of autism things out there on YouTube anyway." And she was like, "No, but you're an adult. Most of the YouTube things that she'd seen were children."
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? That's a pretty good idea. I'll try it. And I remember signing up for YouTube thinking, if I muck this up or if this goes awful to the point where no one watches, what's the point? And she's like, Gemma, don't be like that. So I was like, okay, I'll try. I remember my first video went up on the 11th of January last year, and I was an emotional wreck, let me tell you. Um, yeah, I was severely panicking, and I thought, oh no, what about if no one watches this? What about if they think I'm some really weird person? And yeah, but it's grown. It's gone from I had what in March last year I only had 100 supporters, and I've gone from 100 to 652 within a year and 6 months.
Yeah.
So
And
it's I can't believe how it's jumped, and how I've met incredible people like yourself who are supporting me and make me feel more comfortable with myself. And I never thought I'd do YouTube because having a communication disorder is what it's known as. I didn't see it as a disorder. People are like, how can you do this if you've got autism? I'm like, because if I don't, then people aren't going to know about me and they're not going to know about my struggles. But if I can tell it in a basic story so people understand about it, then my job's done. I can sit here and talk about anything that I go through, and knowing people like you who understand and work with students with educational needs and medical conditions, it's easier for me to be out here with you to talk about it.
Yeah. When you said when you said people ask you how you do it, I feel like I would totally end up giving a rude response, be like, I click the button that says record and then I talk.
Yeah, yeah. I have been tempted to say that. I've had people say to me, how can autistic people be on YouTube? It's a communication problem. I'm like, yes, but
Yeah, you should totally just tell them that you click a button and start talking.
yeah,
I
that's what I
would totally
usually do.
do that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think people like when people say things like that, I just think to myself, well, do you understand what it is to be on YouTube? Like, obviously, they're not a creator themselves, because I think any creator would understand, like, that's literally all it is. Like, sure, if you make, like, one of the things you make a lot of is you do a ton of live streaming, similar to me now. And last
Yeah.
year, I did a lot of like edited videos and not a lot of live streams. And so I can see sort of where they're coming from, but it's such a rude question to ask
Yeah.
when you it sounds like they're just not even present to like just like I can't even communicate how like ignorant that kind of question is. So, but yeah,
I'm used to it now. I get used to it.
yeah. I challenge you, if you do find yourself answering someone's question like that, like please share the story on YouTube. I look forward to the day when that happens.
It's like
Um,
being here talking to you is so refreshing, because a lot of people, like when I was promoting about doing the interview with you yesterday and today, I've been telling a lot of people
yeah,
about you. And people are like,
thank
Gemma,
you.
how can you do an interview with a teacher and you're autistic? Like, how's that going to work? I'm like, because I don't see
How's
it
it
like
not
that.
gonna work?
I I don't see it as being interview per se. I see it as a friendship and a friend asking me questions, and then I can ask you questions. So to me, it's more of a friendship meeting rather than an interview. And people are like, but you're autistic. Yes, I know that. I'm used to it. Thank you very much. I think I know.
um, yeah, I mean, you can also say like, well, see how I'm talking to you like right now. The only difference is there's a button and a camera. And that's the only difference between this conversation right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes people, silliness. Um, so that's sort of how you started, is you wanted to communicate your story, and I think you said your social worker and or oh no, your friend
Yeah.
sort of pitched the idea to you. What's been one of the biggest like hurdles that you've had to get over uh, to start feeling more comfortable? Like, what's been some of the mental barriers that have stopped you and are that you've now gotten past, that you're now able to thrive a bit more?
Yeah. For me, the barriers was my own stupidity, selfish self doubt in my head. I would sit here and think, what the hell am I doing YouTube? Like, no one's going to want to listen to someone who is not very good with eye contact. I don't get people's humor. I'm very, very bad at reading people's body language. So, like, yesterday and today, I've had to write down a script in my notepad
Mhm.
and be like, okay, Gemma, when Zach asks you a question, you need to shut up, think about the way that you answer it before shooting off the answer. And also, you need to give Zach the time to talk to you in between. You need to be quiet and give yourself a time to let Zach process what he's saying to you. So I've been practicing yesterday. My dad, like, sort of role playing. I'm like, Dad, can you pretend to interview me so I can get ready for my interview with Zach tomorrow? And my dad literally grilled me yesterday, and I was just like, okay, I think I'm ready now. I think I know what I'm doing.
um, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever thought about that. So it's pretty cool how mindful you are of your own sort of I want to say like conversational habits. Like, I know that when I'm talking to people, I am usually not thinking about the sort of cadence or like the rhythm of a conversation. The only times that I'm ever starting to think about the rhythm of a conversation is like when I notice I'm talking way too much, or if I notice they're talking a ton and it's hard to get like a word in. Um, so are you the type that more often like you're just talking like with somebody and then you don't notice that they're trying to say something to you?
Yeah, this is the thing that my dad pointed out yesterday. I'm very, very bad at this, and I don't realize the social cues that's part of my autism, unfortunately, is that I'm not good at picking up social cues, and I will sit here and I could talk and talk and talk and talk at you, and then I think, Gemma, shut up! Like, you haven't given Zach a chance to say anything. Zach is the interviewer. You are the person answering the question. So it's, for me, it's that barrier of knowing when to shut up and be quiet, so then I can then answer your question and give you time to talk to me. And that's where I had to practice yesterday, because I was like, Dad, I don't want to muck this
Great.
up. And so I had to practice with my dad, and my dad's like, Gemma, you read that panicky? I was like, yeah. Even though I love Think Share, I love his channel, I love what he stands for, I was so nervous.
Mm.
And it took me about an hour to go through interview questions with him, and I was on the phone to my dad, and my hands the whole time I was like, Dad, I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, you're doing great, I must say. I would say if you have been in the past, like just like talking, and not letting someone interview, like ask you more questions, you've kicked the habit because I haven't had any trouble like grabbing your attention or having to like stop you so I can ask something else. I feel like the as a teacher, one of the things I struggle with sometimes is someone will ask a question and then I will either answer or not answer the question. I'll think I've had, and then I'll just keep going for another like 2 minutes, and then I'll come back and be like, ah, shoot, and then I'll look at the person and be like, did I answer your question? And I realize that I have that challenge sometimes too, because I get sometimes animated, sometimes kind of excited when they ask certain things, especially when it comes to math. And when I just have, I don't know, sometimes I just get excited about a topic and I'll just keep going. And then I realize that I'm no longer answering their question. I'm just spouting off about something. I'm off on a tangent. So it's definitely, I feel like for all human beings, it's valuable to notice when you are losing your audience, even if it's just a one-on-one conversation. It's valuable to notice when you or the other person is starting to hit like worse than a 25-75 ratio. Like, I feel like your average conversation ideally is maybe 50-50. I feel like there are plenty of conversations that are still pretty awesome, 40-60. Once you start hitting the 30-70 or the 25-75, I feel like once you get around there, that's when conversations start getting a little bit lopsided. But I've definitely been in conversations where it's been like 95-5. So and those people aren't autistic. Um, I'm sure many of them aren't, or maybe they're on the spectrum and it's like they've never gone diagnosed or something. But I think there's just a lot of people that are bad communicators. So to say that you have a communication disorder and you're aware of it, you're probably better at communicating because you're aware of a challenge that you have. Um,
Yeah.
I guarantee this interview is going to go better than plenty of other conversations I'm going to have probably even just this week.
Wow. Okay, that's a big compliment. That's made me feel a lot better than I was this morning.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot of people that just are not aware of how much they talk. And I know sometimes I'm one of them.
I think you're a really incredible interviewer, to be honest. Like, from what I've seen of you on the last 5-6 months I've been following you and supporting your channel, I think the way that you interact with people is absolutely amazing. You're constantly answering people's questions, and for me, I like the personal element of how you do it. You're so down to earth, you're genuine, and you really make people feel comfortable. And like, I sit here and I've watched your interviews and I'm sitting here giggling to myself. I'm like, how do you do it? How do you be so natural? When that really makes me wonder about how people come across, like you say, with communication. And that's one thing I thought about. Someone's like, how does he do it? I wouldn't be able to interview people. I would muck it up. I know I would.
How do you muck up an interview? I don't know. Like if you were to mess up an interview, how would you know?
I think I would muck up an interview because like I said, I don't give people enough time to answer the question, or I will say something that's probably inappropriate and then think, oh no, why did I say that?
Like what's an inappropriate response to something that happens?
Like if I said to you, for example, I probably won't say it, but if I was to say to you, like, how do you deal with situations with your wife? Say if you were having an argument with your wife,
yeah,
and I would say to you, if you get angry with her, like, and you want to say something to her, and the way that you say it, I'd be like, what? I think that's inappropriate. Like, if you was to say, oh, I'm angry with my wife, and you go and shout something off about her, and I'd be like, oh, okay. If I was to either retaliate or say something, I think, oh no, Gemma, zip. You don't say anything.
that doesn't sound that bad.
You
I
keep
feel like
disappearing,
say it again.
You keep disappearing. Your picture keeps disappearing.
Oh, that's weird. I don't know why. I think my Wi-Fi is full.
I've got a green and white little man picture come up.
Huh. Let us know in the chat if that's happening. Hey, let's let me. I don't know if you can see the chat. I'm guessing you're on a mobile device because your screen's like sort of vertical. By the way, if I think if you turn your phone, it'll give you the widescreen version because since they're all on YouTube, I think it'll. Yeah, I think it turns. Let's see. Say something again.
Is that better?
Yeah. Now we can. Now we don't have those two black panels on the side. Let's jump into the chat because I know a couple of your friends are in here. A couple of my friends are in here. So we got Libby Easton, we got Alex Nanive, we got Addison Clark. I recognize the name Addison Clark because I think they've been on here. Your really good friend RJ is here. Chantel. There's a couple questions in here as well. Sleep Master, Ice Palm, Hearth Gold. Lots of uploads recently. Yeah, Alex, last night I had wanted to put up the backflips vlog and then ended up, I think it probably uploaded around 2 a.m. or something. So I was waiting for it to load.
Yes, I watched that just before I connected to you.
Oh, yeah. What did you think of it? Because I was having a hard time deciding how to tell the story, I think.
I thought it was really entertaining, and you got the message out there quite well. I thought you were really good at explaining to people, whereas unfortunately I wouldn't be able to do things like that because I have I'm hypermobile, so I can't do things like backflips or things like that.
Can you jump?
Yeah, I can jump. Yeah.
You could. I bet you could train yourself to do it.
Well, I suppose I could. Yes, I'm just not very flexible. I tend to hurt myself way too many times.
I'm not really flexible either. I'm just kind of athletic. So like flexibility, like I can't usually reach my toes, but I'm able to jump. Like I'll bet you could at least train yourself on a trampoline because it's all about. It turns out backflipping is all about tucking your body in together rather than jumping or like. It's like getting over the mental block of most people don't want to fall backwards. So the idea of bringing our legs up like over our head in midair is a really scary feeling. So getting over that mental feeling is like the hardest part of a backflip. So when my trainer had me jumping straight back into that foam pit, that was her just saying like, this is how you get over that fear, is just literally jumping straight back into that foam pit without looking. It's like a trust fall. That's
Yeah.
like the hardest mental block. RJ has a question for you. He says, Gemma, what's your opinion of hashtag not ashamed? So I'll be honest, I do not know what that means. So I'm assuming you do know what it means.
Yes. Me and RJ yesterday he interviewed me on his channel yesterday, and RJ started this hashtag I'm not ashamed, which basically means that people with disabilities, mental health issues, learning disabilities can put it on their videos saying hashtag we're not ashamed of being disabled. And that really appeals to me because as someone with a disability, it makes me aware that I can be proud to be myself, and I don't have to hold my barriers back and think, no, I'm not allowed to tell people that I'm disabled because they're not going to want to know. So I'm proud to be part of the hashtag I'm not ashamed because it's something that me and RJ are proud to promote it. And we've only just started doing it yesterday. So it's something that we want to share with people. And me and RJ said, we're going to share it with you. I know that you're very positive about disability and
Yeah.
LGBTQ issues. So yeah, that's very important to me.
Awesome. So for anyone else out there that's watching that might have a disability and you create your own YouTube channels, you can use that hashtag as well to find like-minded people, find people going through probably similar challenges when it comes to social media and life. Let's see. I wanted to look at a couple of these other things. I talk a lot about, especially for math as well as algebra and specific. Broadway can also get me on a tangent. Oh, Addison is sharing a couple of things that that allow him to have a hard time communicating sometimes. I'm one of those people too. I gave my friends full "you can tell me to shut up" power. Sam says, Gemma's speaking the truth. Libby says, it amazes me how you can do the YouTube interviews without being awkward. I know I would, but I'm trying to teach myself not to. Libby, I might just have to have you on as a guest on here like very soon, because I think you would do fine in an interview as well. Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. What did I miss? Sleep Master, we've just been talking about some of the challenges Gemma Grace has had with autism, but more so how she responds to when people say, how can you do YouTube if you have autism, which is a dumb question. And I usually don't think they're dumb questions. I guess the ones that have super simple answers, like you click a button and you talk, like those to me are dumb questions. But I feel like I'm in you now. I'm not sure what that means. When you interviewed me yesterday, you did well. Please talk about NotAshamed. Yeah, did that. How's that? Hey, trending topic. I literally couldn't do a backflip even to save my life. I have no flexibility. I'm telling you, Addison, it's not about flexibility. I can't jump too, says Ice Palm. Trending topic says, hi, Gemma. By the way, for anyone that's trying to find Gemma, I put her channel link in the description if you want to go find her. I'm partially deaf as any other ASL. Are there any other ASL speakers here? I'm non-binary. Thank you for mentioning me, though. Thanks for sharing it. I think that would be a great segue. So, Gemma, you had said that one of the things in the past like year or so, sounds like you've been on a bit of a path of sort of self-discovery. You said you started identifying with the LGBTQIA community. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. And for me, I've always struggled with romantic feelings towards people, and it's always been since I've been probably around sort of 10, 11 years old. My parents would tell me that they love me, and I would never say it back to them. And my parents would get really frustrated with it because it's like, Gemma, you're being rude. Like, why aren't you saying that you love us back? Like, that's not normal. And I don't know why I don't do it. I think it's just something that doesn't appear natural to me, and I don't think love should be something that you should say unless you really understand the meaning of it. And for me, I don't understand the meaning of love. I never have. I probably never will. And for me, I don't want to say things unless I mean them or 100% that I've researched it to the point where I feel capable of expressing it. So
Mm.
for me, I'd rather avoid the topic of love and not give it to people because I don't understand it. At the same time, I'm scared that if I do give my heart to someone or I do tell someone that I love them, they might throw it back in my face. And because of being disabled, people will judge me and they think that I'm not capable of being with someone because I'm different.
Interesting. So, I mean, one thing I would say in my own experience with what love is, um, I mean, love is all a concept. There's like, when it comes to concept of like addition and subtraction, that's fairly concrete. I can explain it to people. People know whether they're doing addition and subtraction correctly. Love, however, I think a lot of people use the word love because based on their descriptions, they can talk about how it sort of feels in your stomach, how it feels in your brain, how it feels in your heart. And people can identify with that. But I would not necessarily say that love is a, like you were saying that you need to fully research it sort of. I don't know that love is necessarily something that you can research. It's really only something that you can understand. And I think um, it, that sounded strange. It's only something that you can sort of understand by doing it. Similar to riding a bike, like you can read all you want about riding a bike. You can find out how to like you can just do a lot of reading, and I don't know that people understand what it is to ride a bike until they've done it. So, Gemma, I would challenge you to. I think that you could love, and I would even argue that you love me and you love RJ just based on some of the things that you've said. I mean, you talk about how much you support me, and I think that unless I were to, even if I were to say do something really not good, maybe like publicly diss you behind your back or something, I think that would hurt you a lot, right?
Yeah, of course, that would hurt me, but I'm a very forgiving individual. I've been stabbed in the back more times than I care to count.
See, no,
And
that sounds to me like love. Like I know it's not like a romantic love, but in my opinion, I think love is like appreciating, accepting someone for exactly what they are and or what they aren't, and not um, judging them on who you think they should be, but appreciating them for what they are, whatever it is that they are.
yeah, I accept everybody. I've always been brought up to be polite to people, respect them for their differences. My dad's always said to me, unless they hurt me or do something that makes me feel unsafe, then I have no rights at all to judge people based on sexuality, language, culture, what have you. I'm a very open individual. I'm not going to hold things back from people. So for me, it's I want to make friends. I want to be accepted by people, and I just feel that people don't really give the same back to me. It's kind of I struggle with it.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah, so I mean, I would say that you definitely love people, and maybe, and I don't, I think that just because you have autism does not mean you're the only type of person that has a hard time receiving or realizing that love is sort of being sent their way. I think there's plenty of people out there that really feel like no one loves them, and and they don't know how to like read it. So I would say more so than anything, I think you absolutely do love people. And it might be, and I would say even for myself, sometimes it's hard to recognize when someone does. An interesting, yeah, I have it with me here. A really good book that I found useful in terms of relationships is The Five Love Languages. So this talks about there's pretty much five main ways that people sort of show their love. One's quality time, one's words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So I think a lot of people feel like physical touch is probably the number one. Like if you hug someone, there's a much better chance you love them. A lot of people say like, like when you go to give someone a gift for their birthday or something, I know that there's been a lot of different types of gifts I've received and given. Quality time might just be showing up to the birthday. Words of affirmation is like writing them a card. Gifts is, it could be something physical. It could be something meaningless. It could be something they created. Acts of service could be like, they went and mowed the lawn, or they went and got the birthday cake, or they used their time to do something. And then physical touch is obviously hugs, or, if it could be an intimate relationship as well. So, I'd be curious is a lot of people only speak, or they only see through maybe 2, maybe 3 love languages. So I'd be curious is, what do you think your love languages are? So like if you were trying to, show someone that you loved them, which of those would you probably choose?
That's an interesting question, because you mentioned about physical touch. That's the first topic that I struggle with very, very much, because as an autistic person, I am oversensitive to being touched. I get really, really freaked out if people I don't know try and touch me. Like I said to RJ yesterday, I'm very wary if I don't know people and they try and greet me by giving me a hug or tapping on the shoulder. It really makes me on edge. And I think, why are you touching me? Why are you in my space? Leave me alone. I don't want people crowding me. And unless it's someone that I know, then I probably will express more empathy and love towards them. But it's very difficult, because again, it's the way of communication that I show that I love somebody. And it's a really difficult subject, because it's something that I'm still learning myself. I'm still learning how to show love to people, as sad and probably as crappy as that sounds. I'm nearly 30 years old and I still haven't managed to get my head around it, and I think it's something that I'm going to have support with, because it's something that I need to process my brain. Half of my brain won't work, so I kind of don't tend to think about it.
When someone like goes to hug you, is it, so you say like you have anxiety about it, so there's obviously a lot of thoughts that come up. What are some of like what are the things that sort of show up in your body? Like I know when certain things happen to me, like all of a sudden I'll get like a stomach ache, or like my shoulders will tighten up. Like what are some of the things that go on sort of inside your body when someone goes to hug you that you don't know that well?
Yeah, so for me, it's the first symptom is usually I get like pins and needles feeling up my arms, so I
Oh wow.
kind of know that something's happening to me, and I think, oh, I don't feel very well. My body is tense. I start sweating. I get to the point where I'm feeling really sick, like I'm going to vomit, and it then leads into a full-scale panic attack, which last time I had a panic attack about 3 months ago. I ended up in A&E for 6 hours because I was unable to breathe.
Wow.
And that scared living daylights out of me. So yeah, when people touch me who don't know me, that kind of puts me into a really dangerous position of getting really unwell, to the point I don't realise what's actually happened to me until it's too late.
That's crazy. Now I've never experienced a panic attack, but I've seen a couple. I've been with close people that I'm close with when they're having them. So, um, hugging strangers sounds like literally dangerous for your own like personal well-being.
Yeah, very much.
Wow. Um, I'm a big fan of challenging people to step outside their comfort zones, but I don't think I want to challenge you the way I would have maybe originally done it. So, one of the things I've had on my bucket list is to hold a free hugs sign in public. And one day I did that, and I plan on doing it again this summer because I think it'll be YouTube magic. But I'm gonna hold like a giant free hug sign and a T-shirt that says "free hugs," and have people just come up and hug me and like tally off. I want to have 1,000 in a day. And I wonder how much of like the panic attack, the things that develop from you being that close to the stranger, like I wonder how much of it's mental versus how much of it's like physical. Like I know like maybe a week or two ago, someone at work said something to me, and then all of a sudden it sent me down this like mental rabbit hole of like, oh my God, like what's gonna happen now? I don't like this. And I think we all have those moments in our lives where someone says something to us, sends like a shudder down our spine, and all of a sudden we have this like stomach ache. We just don't feel good, and then we're not acting ourselves for the next couple hours or so. So I wonder, and one of the things I do for myself when things like that happen is I start. Um, I have this sort of positive self-talk strategy that I heard this one story of my friend using it, and it's been really useful for me ever since. So his name's John. He's a salesman for, I think it's like a software company or something, and he had this meeting with the CEO of another company, and he was going to sell the software. It was like a multi-million-dollar deal that if they signed on, they would be giving a couple $1 million worth of services, and it was like a multi-year contract. So it was a pretty big deal for him, and he's very well trained, sort of in mindfulness, and he realized as he was about to start the presentation, like for some reason, like just the computer with the presentation on it was not working, and it looked like he was just going to have to speak the whole thing and like get this guy excited about the company without this presentation he's worked on for hours. And all of a sudden he said he had like the stomach ache. He like just all tense, like just not feeling well. And he said that one of his coaches taught him that internal state has nothing to do with reality. So he just started repeating to himself, like, this stomach ache, this internal state has nothing to do with the reality out there. My shoulders feeling tense all of a sudden has nothing to do with reality out there. And I feel like the other day when I had this, like someone said something to me and then my body started reacting before my brain did. Um, I think it's sort of like a long-term evolution thing where our bodies, if our bodies were not reacting and we were being preyed on, let's say, um, there was some sort of predator around, our bodies would actually tense up first, and that was a survival mechanism. So if we started feeling weird, like maybe there was a lion around or something, if our bodies don't react to it, then we'd probably be lion meat. But if our bodies react to it before our left side brains can react to it, then we can start acting on it before the threat is real. Like we can go to safety because our body tells us so, not because our mind knows it yet. So I try to challenge people to start considering that what's going on inside of our bodies does not always have to do with what's going on outside. And because there's really not a ton of like real physical, like deathly circumstances we go through every day, um, those feelings are now like outdated compared to what our bodies used to use them for, like when we're literally trying to save ourselves from wild animals. So I'm curious if that's something that's different for you with autism. I wonder if that's something that can still be worked through. I wonder if the coaching or my advice to people for trying to work through their body sensations and notice that it's not the same as reality. I wonder if that's something that would be harder for you to work through than most others.
Yeah, that's a good question. You've put that really well, actually, because half the time the problem with me is I don't realise that it's only going to be a temporary feeling and it's a stage that will pass. And I get so wound up in it when I feel unwell or I know that I'm getting on well, I will focus on it for quite a long time. I'm like, oh no, I feel rubbish and I don't want to be bothered to do anything. I don't want to communicate with anybody because I feel bad and I don't want to say anything wrong. And then I'm like, Gemma, snap out of this foul mood. Like, you're going to be fine. It's a temporary phase. You'll get over it. It's not going to hold you back for long. And I have to keep remembering to be more positive. And yes, it holds me back for a few hours. And I might feel a bit dodgy and emotional and sleepy, but I deal with that. I deal with how my body is at that time, and then I try and then snap out of it as quick as I can to try and get back to my normal self. So, like this morning, I was in a really anxious mess. I was really panicking. I was like, oh, what about if I muck this interview up? Think shares give me the world of opportunity to speak to him. And I'm really nervous that I might say something inappropriate, or I might say something that comes across rude or too blunt. So for me, it was like, no, Jen, now that's just your head thinking. Like, you know that ThinkShare. You've watched him for a while. You know that you're being interviewed by him. He's prepped you what time you're going to be getting interviewed. He's told you what day you're being interviewed. So I had to remember that you'd already half prepped me for it. So for me, it was knowing that I was being overcautious and thinking, Gemma, calm down, because you know what's happening, you know when it's happening. And for me, it's just the anxiety of going, okay, calm down, relax, watch some videos before I talk to you, get myself into a place where I'm calm enough and focused enough to be accurate to detail. So that's what I was doing this morning, just trying to get my body ready to relax.
Interesting. So, I mean, it sounds like you already have a lot of that positive self-talk.
Yes, it's very difficult. It's mostly scripting and pre-rehearsal in my head. So most of the conversation that I knew I was going to have with you today, I kind of already pre-processed in my head. Like when you say to me, "Hi Gemma, how are you?" my instant reaction is to say I'm fine, because that's what society expects me to say. They don't want the real true answer. They want you to
Right.
be simple.
Yeah, I've really been trying to. I've been more so than normal disliking that social construct that a lot of us sort of, not that we've necessarily bought into, but we've all sort of evolved into, which is like when people say, "Hey, how are you?" I kind of really dislike the fact that people say, "Hey, how are you?" as you're walking by them, like in a hallway, because like, do they expect you to stop and talk? Probably not. Like, they're probably expecting a one word or one phrase answer. So I totally know what you're saying. Like, I've been challenging myself to say something other than fine or other than good. My recent go-tos have been better than good. Like if someone says, "Hey, how are you doing?" Better than good. Or
Yeah.
I've been saying not that great. I've been trying to be somewhat honest with people, and not just say good, because it's such a cop out. It's like so not genuine. One of my students at the beginning of the year, and I made a video about this because they said I could. They were making fun of the fact that people actually don't care what each other say. I don't think they would have articulated this, but they would, instead of saying "How are you?" they would say "Good, how are you?" So what you might notice, and maybe the go-to word over there is the word "fine," but probably people say, "How are you?" "Fine." "How are you?" "Fine." And like you could technically just go in an infinite loop, like "Good, how are you?" "Good, how are you?" "Good, how are
Yeah.
you?" "Good, how are you?" So they instead of starting with "How are you?" or "Hey, how are you?" they would say "Good, how are you?" Like just starting this infinite loop. So now when I talk to some of my students in the hallway, I start out with just saying "Good, how are you?" And I think it's a great way to make fun of the social construct that we've all created, which is we don't care how people actually are. We just say it to sound nice.
Yeah, I think especially in the UK as well. Over here, it's a lot of people don't have the time to talk to you, so it's kind of, they want the shortest, quickest answer out of you. And most of the time, because I'm quite a deep individual and I want to actually tell people how I am, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, Gemma, keep it simple, keep it brief. Like, they don't want to know the ins and outs of how you actually feel today. They want to know the simple, quick way of it. So I always have to say, oh yeah, I'm good. The day could be better, but I'm good, and I just leave it at that. And then people are like, oh, okay. So it's kind of, I watch what I say to a certain degree, and I, it's probably corny as this sounds, I pretty much pre-rehearse conversation in my head. So for me, most of this isn't really pre-scripted because I pick up things as I go out during the day, or when I watch your videos, I learn quite a lot of the social cues. So for me, it's really important that I'm learning to be appropriate, and I struggle with the tone of voice. So forgive me if I sound a bit sort of monotone or a bit like because I struggle to pick up people's tone of voice or the way to slow myself down. So I'm learning, Zach, and I'm learning a lot from you. Believe me, I really am.
Hmm. And talking with people in like such a short term fashion is it's a it's a social construct that I've thought a lot about over the past couple of years, and really it really annoys me how we've all started to deal with each other that way. I've been trying to sort of figure out what's the best way to change our habits as a society. And I think the best way I've seen how to do it is to be the change that I want to see out there. So if I ask someone how they are, I am prepared to stand there and hear more than just the word good. And if someone's about to ask me how I am, like I say, you know what, I actually can't answer that right now. Like I'll come talk to you later or something, so that they're like, they either start deciding in the future if they want to ask that again, or they start realizing, oh, if I ask him how he is, he's going to actually tell me. So I need to either be prepared or not answer, not ask the question.
Yeah,
Do you,
that's sorry, sorry.
I was gonna, what,
Oops, sorry, Zach.
I
Sorry.
forget what I was gonna say. It's not your
You
fault.
that's why I'm trying, like I say, I'm trying to learn the social cues of where to cut into somebody or reply. I'm like,
No worries. Yeah, I mean, I've learned that sometimes I have to be aggressive when it gets to speaking and trying to cut people off to finish off a question. It's a little bit uncomfortable. It's a little bit uncomfortable for me cutting people off, but it gets things done sometimes.
yeah.
Um,
By all means, do it with me. I'm more than happy for you to tell me where I need to be quiet.
in the chat, if anyone has questions, feel free to shout them out there. I think RJ is the only one that has asked a question so far that's been mostly for Gemma to answer. It takes so much courage to talk like this. So proud of you, Gemma. Metaphysical Mike says it takes so much courage to talk like this. So proud of you, Gemma.
Oh,
Um,
I love Metaphysical Mike. He's like a brother to me. I love him. He's brilliant.
I'm not seeing any. Oh, my girlfriend had to. Um, trying to think. Oh, Gemma, do you read a bit?
Yeah, I love reading. I could spend quite happily hours reading. I have so many books, and I've just ordered your book, Zach, as from the other night when you sent
Thank
me the
you.
link. So that's on its way to me. So
Awesome.
I
What
shall look forward to it.
what's your favorite genre to read?
I love well, sort of, I love quite a lot of biography books. I love to sort of read true life stories about people's lives and what they do. So I'm quite passionate about sort of reading educational books. I'm looking forward to reading your books. It's something that I'm interested in. It's an area that I'm passionate about. So for me, it's going to that I need to maybe change things about myself and challenge myself with regards to the genres that I read. And I'm quite a person who reads quite a lot of political books as well. I like reading about politics and
Really?
political systems.
Um, what is it that you like about political books? That's not really something that interests me. So maybe you can shed some light on that for me.
Yeah, sure. Since about 9, 10 years old, I've always been interested in like watching the news, and politics has always been a big thing on the news. So I kind of started getting into it locally in my area, and I got involved with one of my friends, and I really like it. It's nice to have people like myself have a voice, because not a lot of people with disabilities in my area get involved in it, and it's a shame. It really does drive me nuts, because it's kind of like we're isolated, because we're not trusted to be part of something. And I'm like, you know what? Yes, I'm disabled. Yes, I have autism, but I'm still a human being who deserves to be part of a team. And if I can make one little change about myself and get involved in politics, then so be it, because it's something that needs to be raised up in the political arena. Autism's never had a voice like it has now.
Mm.
And I think luckily the UK government is waking up to it. We had our first ever Autism Act declared in 2009, which it should have been a long time ago coming, but the government didn't take it seriously. So now
Mm.
in the UK, we actually have law to protect people like myself. So I'm quite grateful that I've actually been a part of it.
Um, Interesting. I never thought I usually don't think of politics as playing a huge role for like people that have disabilities, but that's good to point out, is I forget that um, the government actually makes a huge difference in sometimes the livelihood of people, because if they don't acknowledge your challenges as actually being challenges, then you have to deal with those without any help. So that's good to point out. There actually are a couple questions looks like I accidentally sort of skipped over. So one of them was from Alex, one of my moderators. Where'd
Okay.
it go? He said, "Now I know that you started your YouTube channel mostly from a conversation with a friend, but does any YouTuber or celebrity inspire you to start your channel?" So maybe rather than starting, like, are there any of those YouTubers that really keep you going?
Yeah, there's a girl from Germany who's a non-verbal autistic girl called Carly Fleischman, and Carly
Interesting.
is severely autistic. She communicates via a special keyboard because she has a type of autism called motor neuron, which basically means she has no vocal cords. So she's unable totally to
Uh,
speak. And I found her channel just before I set up my channel. And I thought, you know what? If she can do YouTube, and she's severely autistic, and she has epilepsy as well, so she's wheelchair bound, and if she can do YouTube, I've got no excuse whatsoever not to do YouTube. If I can be someone like her to make one little change in this world, then so be it. Because a lot of people with disabilities won't do YouTube, or don't have the chance, because they're not believed enough that they can do it.
could hold on a second. I want to look that up and screen share that with people. Hold on a second. Wait for it. Wait for it. What did you say her name was again?
Carly Fleischman.
How do you say her last name or spell it?
FLEISCHMANN, I think it is.
Got it.
I believe she now lives in the States somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where, but she's originally from Germany.
Interesting. My internet's being a little slow. It'll come
I
up.
think she's 20, if I believe she's 25 now, 26. She's just a bit younger than me.
Speechless with Carly. Is that her?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, she has almost 200,000. She only has 7 videos.
Yeah, she has
She
to
was on
have a
the
lot of
Stephen
support.
Col. Sorry, say that again.
She has to have a lot of support to do her videos. She often has one of her carers or one of her friends doing it with her, so she has a lot of production help.
Wow. I'm gonna just do a screen share of people so they can see it. But looks like she was on Stephen Colbert show recently.
Yeah,
Speechless with Carly.
she's a very, very good YouTuber. I absolutely adore Carly. I think she's absolutely fantastic.
She doesn't look like she's in a wheelchair.
She was in a wheelchair in
Interesting.
one of the last videos that I watched, but maybe it's because she needed it. I don't know if she has it all the time, but I know she does a lot of. She was doing a lot of wheelchair videos when I watched her.
Wow. She's also on HBO on Becoming First Nonverbal Talk.
Yeah,
Huh.
she does her own talk show. She's had celebrities go to her house and she does interviews with them through her keyboard. It's quite a
No
clever
way.
concept.
That's pretty cool. Well, thank you. Alex, I'm really glad you asked that question because that was I didn't see that one coming.
Oh yeah,
All
you
right.
see her again. Woohoo!
Let's see, where was the other? There was another question in there. Um, uh, oh, Benjamin Chavez says that he says hello.
Hi, Benjamin.
I feel like I've seen Benjamin's name before.
Yes, he's a regular in my live streams. He's been there the last 3 months solid.
Awesome.
He seems
Uh,
a nice guy.
let's see. I'm on your channel right now watching you. You're a good singer. Benjamin also says.
Me?
Um,
Okay.
oh, another question. So I remember at some point you had said you were going to do some poetry. Did you bring up any of it here today with you?
Yes, I've got a poem, especially about you, Think Share.
Thank you. Uh,
I
so we
did
get to
finish
hear
it.
that today?
Yeah, sure. I did finish
Yes.
it, like you challenged me to. I did do it. I did rewrite it about 4 times because I wasn't sure that I was happy with it, but I've stuck with it now, so hopefully this is all right.
All right.
It's called my tribute to ThinkShare. ThinkShare, you're an incredible person with a lot of empathy to offer, offering advice and support to everybody, regardless of disabilities or not. A teacher in education which can be over challenging students' behaviour. The behaviour always has a purpose. You have a purpose of who you are. Who you are is special, special and chosen to be uplifting. Uplifting to people who need support. Support when they feel down or have no motivation. Motivation you give them to all succeed. Succeed with goals and ideas. Ideas with your suggestions and self-belief. Self-belief to smash expectations of themselves as well as you smashing your own expectations. You run in a half marathon of your many abilities to be a compassionate superstar.
Thank you so much. Oh, I feel all warm inside. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Did you have you written some other things that you want to share as well?
Yeah, sure. Let me get my other my poetry book out here.
So for those that weren't here at the beginning, I she said that I don't remember if that I was talking about writing some things, but at some point she had said that she was writing some poetry and was wondering if she should share it. So I said you should totally share it, and so that was one of them that she wrote specifically about me and this channel, and so I'm looking forward to hearing some more things. Now, when you write poetry, I know that my sort of favorite form of it is just writing stream of consciousness. So I just let it come out of my brain, and I try not to slow down. Like whatever comes out of my brain, I just type it out. Now, what what's your sort of creative process for when you want to do some poetry writing?
Yeah, that's a good question again. For me, I find it easier to write when I'm feeling slightly demotivated, or if I'm going for a day where I'm struggling. I'm like, instead of phoning people up or emailing them, go, I need to talk to someone. I feel like I'm going bonkers. I will sit down with my notebook, grab some paper, write all the different feelings that are in my head. I'm like, how can I communicate this in a way that's not going to make people feel upset about me or worried about me? How can I do it in a safe mode that's not going to hurt myself?
Hmm.
And I sit there for hours on end, and I will literally rip bits of paper up, start it again to the point where I probably edit it about 5 times before I'm happy with it. And then I type them up on my iPad, and I often email them to my parents, and then they read it and they give me their constructive criticism most of the time. And then I start emailing them out to friends. So I email them out to people who I know are going to help me change things and be more confident about myself. So I've been writing poetry now for about a year. I'm still slowly finding my style, but
Yeah.
I just write my daily experiences. I write how I feel, and then I put it pen to paper. And then once I'm happy with that edited version, I then type it up, and then I probably tweak it again 3 or 4 times. I'm like, nope, I'm happy now. Type it up, save it, send it on email to people, get them to feedback to me. And then once I know they're all happy with it or things that they've tweaked on it, then I'm like, okay, I'm happy with that now. I'll now put them into my folder and file them all so I can keep copies.
Hmm. I, now, it sounds like you use poetry in a sort of similar fashion than I do. I use it mostly as like a de-stressor, or if like I'm just feeling really energetic about something, then I start writing. But I feel like I don't use it necessarily as a hobby, but more as like a therapeutic tool.
Yeah, I think poetry is a way that a lot of people could use things like not just for autism or disabilities, but for people who are like, how do I say this without being rude? Um, People who are neurotypical, which means normal people.
Neurotypical, that's great.
Yeah, and that's a word that the autistic communities, people like me, use to describe people like you who are non-disabled, non-barriered, or things like that. So, but I do know and I do respect hugely that I know you do have ADHD, because you told me. So I highly respect that you do have a disability in my eyes, but at the same time, it's not. So I respect that, and I know that it has its own barriers, and people do struggle with it. So I can
Yeah.
understand that.
I know I
Yeah,
definitely don't have it as bad as a lot of other people out there. Like I'm still I can function pretty well without being medicated. And I think it's just, for a long time, I had always wondered, does my body have better capabilities of focus? And when I got tested and then, they, they gave me medications for it, it almost feels like I it feels like I'm cheating sometimes. It's like, whoa, life is way easier when you can focus. I did not know my body was capable of focusing. um, I just assumed that that's kind of how everyone had it, and I didn't I didn't know that that was something that could be fixed. I just kind of assumed that's how life was going to be forever.
yeah. I think, like you say, it's about self-perception, isn't it? It's about
Yeah.
how you manage to function on a daily level, and how you don't let it define you, which is what I'm trying to get out to people. I may have a disability, but I don't let it define me all the time. Yes, there's days where it does control me and I can't do nothing about it, but most of the time I'm an individual who goes out, I campaign, I do my poetry, I go out and do public speaking, and that's that gives me the ability to see things from a different perspective. So poetry is just a way that I cope to de-stress. It's kind
Mm,
of like having paid therapy. It's kind of, instead of having paid therapy, I can sit here and give myself therapy.
yeah. I want to jump into the chat. So there's a couple questions or comments in here. So Alex says, I know Thinkshare has some celebrities who not a lot of people know are gay for the LGBTQ inspiring celebrities. So are there any celebrities that no one really knows they had with autism?
Yeah, that's a good question. Recently, I don't know, you probably haven't heard about this guy, but in the UK, we recently had a big omission by a really big BBC program maker called Chris Packham. And Chris Packham is a wildlife documentarian. He does all wildlife programs and programs about um, like gardening and countryside, about how to look after our countrysides better. And he got diagnosed recently at age of 47, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a girlfriend. He also admits himself that he's in the LGBTQ community, and that he has identified for quite a few years that he falls in that category. And I look up to him. And also, you probably do know about Susan Boyle.
Oh yeah, I know. I've heard of Susan.
Yeah, Susan Boyle is a high functioning autistic lady similar to me. Again, I look up to her because she's someone who does struggle with showing people love and emotions. And she did talk about a year ago, she was in LA being interviewed, and she said that she really struggles with the concept of friendship and trust, because a lot of people with autism find it really difficult to get into the idea of relationships. And I think because we're scared to commit to people because of being judged or being treated as different, we tend to avoid that area altogether. So I think it's a shame that that still happens.
Well, that was a good answer to Alex's question. Alex said, I think I've heard of Albert Einstein or something. I feel like I've heard of Albert Einstein as having some sort of, I don't know about a disability, but something that definitely set him apart that most people would look at as a challenge or a hurdle. But I don't remember what it was.
He has been suspected for quite a long time, from what I've heard on autistic forums, that he was severely autistic. He didn't do social contact with people. He was very withheld to himself. He wouldn't go out with friends after his university, or he would avoid all social contacts he found very awkward. And apparently the teachers who taught him used to say he was a nightmare, because he would tell everybody that he knew everything about maths. And obviously he was a genius back in his day, he was. And I think a lot of people took him the wrong way, and that's a shame, because he was very, very clever, very, very clever.
Yeah, I mean, he's the I believe it was relativity that he sort of discovered. I don't actually know a ton about relativity, but my understanding is it's sort of like, if you were to take sort of the if you were to take sort of the scientific concept of it and just apply it to everyday life, it's just pointing out that everything that we go through and experience is all relative. It's not all the struggles that we go through. It's a it's a big concept, and once I feel like you can wrap your head around it, life gets easier, because when you realize that there is not necessarily an objective truth, because all objective truths are have to be observed, and for them to be observed requires some sort of perception. Then you can realize that if they're almost there, I don't know if I'm doing this concept justice at all. I feel like what it allows me to see is that anytime I'm upset, I can just notice that everything that I observe is my perception, and it's not necessarily the truth, what I'm observing. So there's no truth, or there's like everything is the truth. And then we are just perceiving it. I feel like I did a horrible job trying to explain that, but
No, I can understand what you're saying there. I think it's, for me, perceiving the truth, what I think's the truth in my own head most of the time is probably irrelevant and isn't right, because I tend to think that my opinions are the only things that
yeah,
matter. And my dad said this to me this morning. I phoned him just before I was going to speak to you, and
yeah,
I was like, "Dad, like, what about if I like say something that Zach might not agree with, or I might say to him, well, you're wrong and this is right." And my dad's like, "Gemma, think about what you're saying and think about what he's going to ask you." And I had to realize, I was like, "No, Gemma, you're not always right. Like, what you say doesn't always go. You have to be reasonable." And yeah, so it's, for me, I'm like, "No, Gemma, you're not always right. You're not miss 100% accurate all the time. You have to realize that you do say things wrong, and you do say things which I think, oh no, I've just totally embarrassed myself."
that's funny. I think this is a good comment slash question. Ollie says, maybe I'm the only one who is like this, but when you're friends with someone, I find it very easy to forget they have a disability, only because you know them as a person, and it's not something that I focus on daily. Do you ever hang out with friends and then they almost kind of forget that you have that disability because I feel like once you get to know someone, you expect certain things of them. So like, let's say I'm just a long-winded talker, which I kind of am. My friends probably have gotten to know that about me, and so they know they have to interrupt me sometimes to get a word in. Um, so do you ever notice that your friends almost forget that you have disabilities or
Yeah,
disabilities?
totally. My best friend Jo, who she has her own disabilities, and she's a very, very good buddy of mine, and she's more of a sister than a best friend, to be honest. And I went out with her yesterday, and we were talking about this subject. So I'm glad you brought it up, because I can be very socially awkward. And we went to a restaurant yesterday, and I was feeling quite anxious because I was thinking, oh, I've got so much to prepare for this weekend. I need to prepare for Zach's interview. I need to tidy up my flat. I need to do things so that I'm ready for Zach to interview me. And my friend's like, "Gemma, stop worrying. Take a breather. Sit down." And I was like, "Okay." So we went to the restaurant. We were sitting down. She's like, "Gemma, you need to stop worrying about your disability so much. We know that you're autistic, Gemma, but remember, you're the human being. You're not just this
Yeah.
label that's being thrown on you all the time." I'm like, "Yeah, that's accurate. I need to realize that I'm not just this autistic girl, autistic lady, that I am a friend, I'm a sister, I'm a niece, what have you." And she really made it knock sense into me. She was like, "Gemma, you're my best friend, regardless of autism or not. We've been like sisters for the last 5 years. If I didn't want to be your best friend, Gemma, if I didn't want to be with you right now, I wouldn't be with you, because if I didn't like your personality, why would I give up my time for you?" And that really made me think about how selfish I am sometimes, and the fact that I don't give other people leeway and give them the time of day. And I'm like, oh no, I've really got to stop this, because I'm going to end up losing people. My best friend, she has bipolar. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can
Mm.
about bipolar disorder so that I can help her when she has her issue. She's recently come out of hospital. She was in hospital on a section for 6 months, and that heart broke me. I had no idea what to do,
Yeah.
and it completely turned my world upside down. And I was just like, "Gemma, it's not about you. Stop being so selfish. She's struggling with her mental health. She's really not well. And the last thing she needs you to be doing is crying, getting angry, getting frustrated because you're not coping with it." And I've had to learn to go through change. I know that I can't see her all the time. I know that she's not well. Therefore, I need to back down and think, well, how can I help her? How can I be a better friend to her than what I'm being? Because I'm being really selfish right now. And I'm not processing how she's feeling and what hell she's going through.
Right. That's that's a sign of a good friend right there. Um, Addison Clark was just talking in the chat about the fact that they're going to be having a hearing aid soon, and they seem a little in my experience looks like a little bit apprehensive, but it sounds like Ollie at whatever is um, doing a great job sort of talking them down and just pointing out that they're a human at the end of the day, which is what one of the things you were saying. Another question, I totally lost it.
That's okay.
Gemma, what's a piece of advice you would share with any of the people in the chat that or any of the viewers, maybe to allow them to interact better with people that are autistic? Like what's one of the things that when people know that or might judge you as having a disability, that they do, that's almost annoying. It's like, oh, they're doing this again. It's like when adults talk to children in high-pitched voice, like, hey, like, do you need some help with that? Like, I think it's so annoying when adults do that to children, because it's better to just talk to them sort of like adults, like, hey, you need help with that?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought this up, because not a lot of people approach me about this subject, and I have a lot of people who mean well, I know, but a lot of people will say to me, "Oh, because you're vulnerable, Gemma, you're a bit socially naive and you don't really behave appropriately most of the time." And they're like, "Oh, do you need help with this? Oh, Gemma, shall we do that for you? Do you need this done for you, Gemma?" I'm like, no. How about you actually ask me what I need help with, rather than trying to control my life for me? I'm nearly 30 years old. I've lived on my own now for 6 years, and I can prove that I can be an independent adult. I pay my bills, I pay my rent, I make sure that everything is left over that I have, and if I have money left over, which I often do, I know I can treat myself. And people are like, no, Gemma, you shouldn't think of it like that. That money needs to be for next month's bills or what have you. I'm like, yes, but I still have enough money to treat myself. I don't want to keep just having to save money all the time, because it's
Yeah.
fun to have a little bit of money to spend. I deserve it. I work hard.
So it sounds like a lot of people assume people think that they know what you need, because of them knowing about the fact that you have autism. So it sounds like the thing you would invite and challenge people to do is, rather than assuming that you know what people need based on their disability, instead to ask them, and only ask them if your goal is to help them out because you assume that they might need some help. So like, I know for like, if I were with a blind person, I might say like, do you want me to hold my hand out for you to grab? Would that be easier than you just like walking straight forward? But at the same time, I would imagine, and I don't know, because I've never really had much of a disability, just maybe when I'm like on crutches or something. But I know I definitely assume that some people, maybe if I saw a blind person, like, I try to get out of their way before, like if someone's walking to me with like their I forget what you call them, but the sticks that they use to feel if someone is in front of them, like, I try to get out of their way so that they don't end up bumping my foot and thinking that there's something in the way. I don't know where I was
Yeah.
going with this, but I guess doing our best not to assume that people need help based on the disability that we know about them, but instead, if we do want to help them, just ask them.
Yeah, absolutely right. Like, for me, I will, if I need help, I'm getting better at asking for it. Before, I wasn't as good with it because I would struggle, and people were like, "Gemma, you're not coping, are you alright? You're not doing things that you should be able to do." And I'd be like, "Yes, I can do it. Leave me to try and do it. I can plan it in my brain to try and do it." But when
Yeah.
it comes to actually putting pen to paper and trying to complete the task at hand, I then will forget, or I will put something more important in the way. So then people are like, "Jem, but you promised to do this." I'm like, "Yeah, but this came up." And then for me, I automatically hop to the most important thing, rather than thinking I should finish the challenge at hand first and then jump to the most important thing. Whereas I don't. I will like today and yesterday, yesterday I was gonna do my whole flat tidy and get it finished yesterday. And I was like, no, I want to relax yesterday afternoon because I want to prepare for today. I want to write my questions down. I want to give myself enough time to make sure I'd rested up. And I was like, you know what, that can wait till tomorrow. Like, I've got all the weekend to tidy up. It's not a rush. I don't have to worry about it. And people are like, Gemma, but you said you were going to do that yesterday. I'm like, yeah, I did say that, but more important things in my head came up, more important things that I thought, no, I need to take care of myself. And therefore, I put it back so that I could plan to do this. So it's about making sure that I know when to do things and give myself time to do it.
So it sounds like you're very self-reliant. Another question. I want to say one thing, and I want to ask another question. I'm thinking I probably want to go for another about 20 minutes. So
Okay.
for those in the chat that have questions that they might want to ask, feel free to keep putting them into the chat. I've been watching it a bit recently. And real quick, if you've been enjoying this conversation, if you've been enjoying listening to Gemma, go ahead, find her channel. Her link is in the description of this video. If you've liked this video so far, give it a like. If you've disliked it so far, give it a dislike. My next question for you, Gemma, is what so you said you were only diagnosed maybe, what, I think you said like 5 years ago or something like that?
Yeah, 5 years in February. Yeah.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you had? Because I know we typically have like a younger audience here watching, somewhere between like maybe age 12 to maybe 20 or so. What were some of the challenges that, or what's some of the advice you would give to yourself or to the people? What's some of the advice you would have gave yourself maybe around age 15 or 12 or 20?
Okay, that's an interesting question. For me, I guess back in my younger days, I guess at school, especially high school age, sort of 12 to 15, I wish I would have been more confident in myself to speak out to teachers about the fact that I wasn't coping with the schoolwork and the fact that I was getting severely bullied by people who I thought were meant to be my friends. They would pick me up for school in the morning. They would then walk me home at night after school had finished, and it became a routine. It was like I knew I could trust them, and they were my people who protected me. But then behind closed doors, once the school had started, it became an issue where they would pretend to like me or would then stab me in the back, and it happened to be like the main person who bullied me was my cousin, which was a big shocker to a 12, 13 year old at the time who was being bullied by a 14, 15 year old. And it got to the point where it had police involvement because she threatened to kill herself because of me. She sent me death threat letters basically saying that she couldn't put up with me as her cousin, that I was a burden to the family, and it was graphic. It was hell. It was a really difficult time of my life, but I dealt with it. I think the best way I dealt with it was to go into the social worker office at school, and I refused to go into the classroom at all because I was always upset. And I think with that social worker, they were really nice to me. I felt safe. I could be myself with them. But at the same time, I learned not to rely on them. So I kind of got back into the classroom slowly but surely. After the weeks had gone by, I went back into the classroom. And the bullies who were bullying me were quite surprised. They're like, oh, Gemma, you're back. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm not going to keep walking out because every time I walk out, it's showing that I'm weak and I'm giving in to them. And I can't keep doing it because it was getting to a point where I was missing nearly every lesson. And my teachers were getting quite concerned that something was happening at home. And I was like, no, nothing's happening at home. It's fine. I'm fine. And they ended up getting my mum involved down to the school. Said like, why is Gemma acting so weird? And she's not completing her homework, and she's always crying. And they're like, is there anything that we need to know about Gemma at home? Is there something that you're not telling us? And my mom's like, no, I look after Gemma the best way that I know how. I look after her homework. I make sure she's getting up and dressed for school. I make sure she has her dinner when she gets home. But my mum, what she didn't see, bless her, she means well. She never saw me at night time when I go into my room and cry. I would rip things up. I would smash things. And it wasn't until one morning she found a smashed up lampshade all over my floor. And she's like, "No, Gemma, this is enough. You can't keep doing this." So we went back to the school. My mum's like, "Look, my daughter's getting bullied. You either deal with it and stop this, or I'm pulling my daughter out of school." And they're like, "No, you can't pull Gemma out. She's halfway through her exams, and this will be the worst mistake of your life if you pull Gemma out." And they luckily then decided that because I needed help clearly and support, they gave me what we call a LSA over here, which is a learning support assistant who helped me with my schoolwork. And she was amazing. I couldn't imagine my rest of my school life without her. She literally sat with me every lesson until the point where I think the last one I saw was the day before I left high school, and she made my school life a lot easier. If it wasn't for her, I probably would have left school and wouldn't have gone back, because I absolutely hated it with a passion. I hated the headmaster because he was useless, and I think the only reason I stayed at that school was because of my LSA and social worker.
So the advice you would give to yourself. So I understood the story. I'm not sure if I heard like what would be the advice that you would give to yourself.
Yeah, okay. I didn't hear that bit. Okay. The advice that I would give to someone that school age is, you please know that you're not alone. Like, if you are getting bullied or you're struggling with the schoolwork, please go and speak to a teacher or a social worker or someone who is in your school establishment, because they know what they're doing and they are the professionals who are qualified to teach you and support you. Not all teachers are bad. I wish I would have had better teachers, but I guess every establishment is different. So please go and speak to a teacher. Go and make them aware that you're struggling and that you're upset. They will help you. And I wish that I would have reached out to someone before letting my life go down badly. And I think it's just important to make sure that students know that there is someone there as a safety precaution, and that they do know teachers do care. People like yourself prove that you're a teacher and you work with students. So for me, please go and speak to someone. Don't hold it in. Don't isolate yourself, because the more that you isolate yourself, you will pay for it, because you will feel bad, you will feel unwell. I went through it. I felt ill for quite a long time. I regretted it, and to this day I still regret the way I behaved at school. And please don't go down that road if you can help it. Please go and get some support.
It sounds like good advice. Now I know, I know that a lot of students might not feel like they're getting the support that they need. Another question that's sort of similar in nature is, what is one of the challenges at about that age that you're glad that you went through, even though maybe it was tough? Like, what was one of the things you're glad that you went through because it made you a stronger person?
Yeah, I think going through bullying made me a stronger person, because it made me realise that bullies do have their own issues. They bully because they're either going through something traumatic at home, or they're being bullied themselves out of school by somebody. You never know somebody's story, and there's always two versions of it. There's always something that you miss, or something that you don't get told about until you get to know the person. And I actually made friends with my bullies towards the end of school. I actually reached out to a few of them and said, you've bullied me, you've made my life hell for nearly 5 years. What have I done that was so bad for you guys to pick on me? Why was I your target? And they all said to me it was because I was too nice. I was the nice kid who thought highly of everybody. I was the kid that gave my respect to everybody straight away. I didn't think, oh, Gemma, you're being a bit naive or dangerous. You're kind of giving your heart out. And they said to me, if you toughen yourself up, Gemma, if you would have toughened yourself up, people wouldn't have picked on you. And I was like, that's a pathetic excuse. That doesn't give you the right to pick on students, regardless if I was weak or naive or not. I
What
chose to be a nice person.
it doesn't sound like they were. It doesn't sound like they were asking. They were answering their justification for it. Uh, they were just giving their best answer is that you were so nice to them that you're an easy target. And I think that most bullies are hurting inside, or they're having trouble in some area of life. So they use bullying as a way to sort of flex their power in some other area of life, that they have some sort of advantage. I know I was bullied mostly throughout middle school, a bit through high school as well. Most of my crying about it came sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth grade. And it was when I didn't have any real great clubs or things that I was plugged into. I didn't have a great support group of friends. Like I had one really good friend throughout middle school, and then high school I had like a small group of guys. But yeah, I feel like bullying, I think I'm glad that I went through it, because today I see that as one of, like, I've said this before, is I really, as a tall, white, straight male in America, I have it made really easy for me. And if I hadn't gone through bullying, I feel like I would have a really hard time seeing where people are coming from, because everything is so easy given sort of my social advantages, that I feel guilty sometimes that I've had these. And because of that, I'm glad that I went through bullying so I can sympathize with other people, because I did have at least one hard part in my life when I wasn't tall. Well, I'm still pretty skinny, but I was scrawny back then. So I definitely feel you when you say that you're glad that you, on some level, that you went through bullying, because it made you a tougher person.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, is this one of the questions from Libby? Is the school social worker like a student support officer?
Yeah, it's
I would
very
probably say yeah.
similar. They're now, their job titles have actually changed now since I've left school. They get called a student support officer, which basically means that they support students who are having difficulties, and they kind of just work among the student in the classrooms, and they try and make the school establishment a bit easier, because when I was in school there was no formal support for students like myself who were struggling with being bullied and not wanting to be in school at all most of the time. So now it's got a lot better, but the education system in the UK still sucks for provision for students with autism or disabilities in general. They don't get it.
Yeah. I think one sort of question I wanna end this interview with is, for those that have newly found you and have subscribed and are looking forward to the future of your channel. What are some things that they can expect? Like, what's your upload schedule? What kind of things do you plan on doing over the summer or the near future? What can they expect?
Yeah, sure. With regards to my channel, they can expect twice a week uploads. I'm actually going to film one later today about the history of autism, and facts of autism, because a lot of people don't seem to still understand what autism is in general and the history of how it came to be as a disability. So I'm going to do that today. And then I've actually got a autism myth and facts video that I'm going to film during the week next week as well. So that's going to be another video, just a fun quiz video to see how much people know. about autism and which are myths and which are fact statements. So I've got quite a lot of notes written down for that, to film that. And also during the summer, I'm planning on going camping. So I've been asked to do a autism and camping video to show how I cope with being outside and the different environments with sleeping in a tent and being away from my home, because I don't tend to go away very far from my flat. So that's going to be a challenge in itself. So I'm looking forward to challenging myself, and also I want to challenge myself more to be more accessible to people, because I think part of YouTube is I need to be more open to people and try and communicate with people more. So I'm going to try and be more available for people. And I think you've challenged me in that perspective as well. I think I need to be like, guys, I am here. I am available to speak to people, whether it's on Google Hangouts or whether it's on email. I am here for people. They want to ask me any questions or if they want to talk about anything.
Got it. Well, it sounds like you get pretty bit now. When you say upload, what percent of those uploads are usually live streams?
Well, I try and do 2 live streams a week. I try and do one at the beginning of the week to catch people, and then I try and do one towards the weekend. So I'd say my percentage of live stream uploads are probably about 40-50% of my weekly intakes. I usually do 2 sit down videos a week, and then I try and do 2 live streams a week.
Good.
As well. So,
yeah, you know, I've found a real enjoyment behind watching live streams, and I've found enjoyment behind watching like edited, cut up music in the background kind of videos. So there are 2 sort of types of videos, and I've realized that my channel has definitely been transforming much more into a live stream type platform, where I have been still making edited videos, but I'm finding myself wanting to put more, like a lot more work into the edited ones versus the live stream ones. It's so much easier to do, and I can say what's on my mind for the most part. And it's sort of what my short ones used to be, but I've just realized that live stream is just a more effective way to communicate a message, share what's going on with you, and reach your audience. So I think it's a great move to have about 50-50 or so live stream and upload. It
I think
captures both worlds.
Yeah, doing live streams, when I first started doing them, I only started doing live streams about a month and a half ago, and it petrified me. I had no idea what I was going to expect whatsoever. I had no comprehension about potential that people might troll me or might want to offend me, and I actually got challenged to do a live stream by my friend Pete, who runs the Enjoying Life channel, and he challenged me on one of his videos and said, "Oh, you know, I've been sharing your videos, Gemma. I love your channel. I challenge you to do a live stream." And I was just like, "What? I've never done a live stream in my life." And he gave me literally 48 hours from that video to do a live stream. So I was like, I've got 48 hours. I need to sit here and plan a live stream. I need to sit in front of my camera and just be like, hi. And I was nervous. I don't know how I didn't muck it up. And I had my first live stream, I had 11 people, and it petrified the living daylights out of me.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was really, really surreal. But I love live streaming now. I wouldn't not do it. I think it's the best way to interact with people, and yeah, I think it's something I need to still practice on. But I love live streaming. It's great.
I know that 11's not generally like crazy, but I'd say for me that was crazy, because it took me like 7 months of creating videos. I'd probably done maybe 5 live streams, but having 11 people on at once, that was crazy to me. And then finally broke that record about 2 weeks ago when one of my other videos was going viral, and I think I hit a peak of, I think, 25 people is my new current record. And today we hit about, I think 17 was the highest amount that we had on here.
Wow, I must say, Zach, I need to say congratulations to you because I noticed that you hit the 1K mark, Zach.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
we're
I'm very
actually
proud of you.
pretty close to the 2K mark. We're at 1925 last I checked.
Wow. Congratulations, Zach. I'm mega proud of you. That's a really big achievement
Thank
to
you.
hit that. That's really, really, really good. I it actually made me emotionally smile this morning when I logged onto your page this morning. I was like, whoa, he's grown a lot since the last time I checked. And I was sitting here with
Yeah,
like tears in my eyes. I was like, oh,
yeah, it's been a combination of the hashtag I'm a creator community and a couple of the videos about having a pride flag in my classroom have gone a bit viral. So on my other channel, which is where I started YouTube, Zachary Watson, which is my full name, that uh, it annoys me, but at the same time, like I can't be mad at it. It's a dead channel. Like I don't upload to it. Is up to 2,700 subscribers. It went up over 2,000 in like 3 weeks because
wow.
one of the video about having a pride flag was on there, and it just hit 80,000 views.
Wow, that's impressive, Zach. Well
Yeah.
done. That's impressive.
So I think the advantage of having a daily channel is that people get used to seeing you every day, and they feel like they can sort of pick and choose. Like they can just look at the thumbnail, look at the at the title, and say, "He'll have something out tomorrow. Do I want to watch this?" And I feel like it gives your viewers advantages to do that because it's sort of a variety show, but at the same time, um, because I have over 400 videos on the ThinkShare, uh, there's 400 opportunities for people to find me and find something some small topic they might be interested in that will lead to them finding me, finding that I talk about things that they like very often. So um, my invitation for the YouTubers out there that are watching, uh, I would say fail early, fail often. Put out content that you don't know if people are going to like it or not. The
Yeah.
market and the YouTube comments and the likes and stuff, that'll give you an idea of whether you're doing things right. And because I force myself every day for over a year now to make something, I've had a lot of trial and error, seeing what works, what doesn't work, what people like, and what they don't care about. And it just gives you a lot of information if you keep putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
So Gemma, thank you so much for coming onto the channel. It's been a pleasure having you on and talking with you. As much as you said that you practiced for it and were a little nervous coming on, the nervousness didn't show and the practice paid off. I don't know that I don't know what you would have been like had you not practiced, but I think
Awful, probably, to be honest.
you're very easy to interview. And for anyone else, so the Dewey Show podcast, who I'm actually going to be recording with him at 2 o'clock. He wants me to send him your email. So
Okay.
I will do that. And any last words for the audience?
Yes, I think Zach is an encouragement on anything. I think for me, you've really made me a better person, and you've really helped me to come out of my shell because I've been a very insecure person up until fairly recently, and I think the way that you support me and encourage me on your live streams and I'm chatting to you, I'm just like, I don't feel like I have to hide anything anymore. And that has took guts. And I think for you to open up to me and you being a teacher, it kind of makes me recognize that not all teachers, from my own experience, were necessarily bad. And I think it gives knowledge to me that you are a fantastic, amazing person, and your content and your channel, you are reaching so many people. And like I say, you have really helped me in self belief, and the fact that I came out to you as identifying in the LGBTQ
Yeah.
community. I haven't even told my parents that yet, and I'm absolutely dreading it.
Do they watch
And
your YouTube channel videos?
Yes and no. They've watched parts of them, but you're the only person I've told that I identify in that community. No one, not even my best friend or anyone knows. So you've really
Yeah.
helped to do that.
These videos recently have been hitting about somewhere around 100 views over the first couple days. So you've now told about 100 other people.
Wow.
Actually, I don't know. I don't know how many of them are different people versus people, because I know if you like you log out of the live stream like to click something and then you come back, that counts as 2 views. So I don't know how many of them are repeats, but that you could have just told somewhere between 20 to 100 people.
Wow. Now I feel brave. Yeah, it's just something I've been really scared to do. And I think you doing the videos about the LGBT community and the way that you talked about on your live stream a couple of days ago,
Mhm.
and I was just like, wow, I need to admit to Zach that I'm going through this. I need to admit to him that I identify in that community. And it was really challenging for me to do that. I sat here and cried when I texted you that. And I was just like,
Um,
oh my God, like, this is my life. Like, this is how I felt for years. Why on earth have I not told anybody? I've been so scared because of the reaction that people might give me, or do I not say anything on premise because someone's not going to agree with me?
mm. Well,
So
thank
I
you
owe you a
for
lot.
having that courage.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me have the platform to do that. And like I say, I admire you hugely. I have a huge respect for you and your channel and what you stand for. And I think a lot of people are going to benefit from you and the way that you interview. You're very, very natural, and you make it very, very easy for me to sit here and be myself, which I was completely an anxious wreck this morning.
Well, it definitely didn't show up here on the live stream. So thank you again for coming on. It's really been a pleasure. Again, if you enjoyed this, go find her channel. The link is in the description. If you want more from me and or if you want other people to be interviewed, especially maybe it's channels that are similar to mine that you found, um, leave the link to their channel in the comment, or just say, hey, you should go interview. Like Alex had said, he wanted me to interview Clifford Starks, and so that's why we had him on like 3 or 4 days after that request. So I'd like to think I'm pretty quick in turnaround time for having people on, and absolutely check out Gemma. Thank you all for
Thank you
watching.
very much, Zach.
Yeah, and you're welcome, and we'll see each other soon. I'm sure I'll be on one of your streams, or you'll be on one of my streams in the near future.
Yes,
So
of course. I'm a regular.
thank you all for watching, and stay weird. Yay!